Okay, we are going to do the Welcome Home Whatnot quilted basket next. I'm sitting in front of a Brother Luminaire. This will also work with a Babylock Solaris. We need to select our design first. We are going to find our design in the pocket, which is down in the left-hand corner of the screen. I am going to select that. Then I'm going to move up to the row of icons here where I can pick the design. I'm going to select the first USB port because that's where my files are. I'm going to select the embroidery files designs because that's where I put them. And then I'm going to navigate to the PES file because that's what this particular machine is going to read. I am going to scroll down so that I can see the Whatnot quilted basket, and I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to set it on the machine. From here, I need to go to the edit menu. From the edit menu, I'm going to go down in the right hand side of the categories here, and I'm going to select this icon that looks like a flower. This is our stamp pattern. I want to move the box that is around this to the inside of my design. So I'm going to use the minus button here, and I'm going to change this until we get to -108, so 0.108. We're getting there. There we go. Once I have this, I'm going to select the memory. And it's going to tell me, do you want to recall this from the My Design Center stamp pattern list? That is exactly where we want it to go. We're going to select OK. From this screen here, we are going to select the Home button, and then we are going to select OK, and we are going to go to the My Design Center. From here, I'm going to navigate to where I saved that design. I'm going to go into my Shapes tool, and from my Shapes tool menu, I am going to go to my flower. Here are the designs that I have saved in mine. I'm going to select the outline, and then I'm going to select OK. Once I have this box on my screen, I am going to go to the second box over here, the one that's red with the little diagonal lines. I'm going to select that icon, and I'm going to look for my quilting patterns. This is the quilting pattern key. I'm going to select that, and it's going to bring up another menu. From this menu, I need to hit the select button, and then I'm going to navigate to the design that I want to use. If you have a Luminaire or a Solaris 2 or a Luminaire or a Solaris 1 that has all of the upgrades, then you will have 42 options. We are going to select this basket weave, pattern number 17. And then we are going to select OK. You can pick a color if you choose. I'm going to leave it red. From here, I need to put this pattern on my screen. Now, I have two options of getting that there. I can use the paintbrush, but if I use the paintbrush, this is what happens. I just get strokes. So I'm going to undo this. So I'm going to use the paint can. So if you think about what happens when you dump a can of paint, it fills the whole space. So the paint can is selected, and I'm going to select inside the design area, and I have my basket weave. So I'm going to select next. From this design, I have some choices. Now, the top option over here is how I resize the design. I want to resize this to 120%. Then I'm going to select OK from the bottom. It's automatically going to change that. I want to turn the select outline button, which is this one here. I want to select it so that it's on. No, I want to select it so it's off. So depending on your machine, if you have been upgraded, it is going to default to the off position, so you will not need to turn it off for this. If you are following along in the instructions and it is telling you to do something and your screen looks different than this, then you would change that. But you change that by selecting it and then you can turn it on or off. We do want it off for this particular option. Then we are going to go to the random shift option, which is this button right here. And we are going to select the random shift number 3. So I've got the random shift number 3 and I'm going to select OK. And that's going to skew my blocks, which is a really fun option. So there's one other thing that I'm going to suggest that you do that is not written in the Kimberbell instructions, and that's this icon right here. So if you select this one at the bottom, this is thickness. Thickness refers to the density of the quilting lines. So we want this to be a single run stitch, or as close to a single run stitch as we can get, versus a triple stitch. So we're going to select this icon here and then select the OK button. So from this point here, I am ready to bring this design to the embroidery side. So I'm going to select the set option here. When I select the set option, it's going to give me a warning sign. Converted to embroidery pattern and my design center will be exited. OK to continue to embroidery edit screen. What it's telling me is once I select OK, I am no longer going to be in the design center, or I'm no longer going to be in the IQ designer. I'm going to be in the embroidery side. I haven't done any saving of anything, so if I needed to go back to alter this design because I haven't actually saved it, I would lose everything. If I wanted to make sure that I had the ability to alter this again, I would want to hit the memory button first before I hit the save button or the set button. I'm going to go ahead and hit set because I don't need to save this. I am now in the embroidery screen. So from here, I am going to go to the add button and I am going to pull up the embroidery design that we had just a few moments ago. So just navigate to wherever it is that you have that saved. All right, and on my screen, you can see that we now have both of those designs on the screen. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to hit the add button again, and we're going to go to our shapes tool, and we are going to select the heart, and we are going to select heart number 5, and we are going to hit the set button. And then we are going to hit the edit button, and my heart has this red box around it. So whatever it is that I do to edit it is going to be done to that particular design. I'm going to go ahead and hit the size design because I want to shrink this design ever so slightly. So it is currently 2.76 by 3.25, and I want to make it smaller. And I want to go ahead and make it proportionately smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and touch this icon right here. It's got the arrows all going in, so that means that it's going to shrink proportionately. If I were using this button here, it would shrink, it would make it bigger proportionately. The icons below that make it larger unproportionately. So here we are at 2.26 by 2.66, and we're going to select the OK button. From this point here, we're going to go ahead and select the embroidery button, and we are now ready to stitch our design.
Now that we have the programming all set for the Whatnot basket, we need to start stitching. We're going to jump ahead to thread color number 2, which will be the placement stitch for placement of the foam. So we're going to go ahead, like I said, to number 2 and go ahead and stitch that out. Go ahead and cover that up with the foam and stitch again. Now, of course, we need to trim off the excess. Now that we have that all trimmed, we're going to turn the hoop to the back and tape one piece of that cute melon doodle fabric to the back, and then turn back to the front and set the second piece over the foam, and then we'll tack both pieces in place at the same time. So here's the back of my hoop. I would just like to remind you that when you're taping on the back, you want to make sure that you tape the corners down, not the north, south, east, west, just to make sure that you don't get any folding in of those corners. Once you have that squaring stitch done, we're going to go ahead, remove the hoop from the machine, and then take the tape pieces off the back of the hoop once everything has been stitched in place. If you did use tape on the front, you can remove that at this time as well. As you all know me by now, I did not put tape on the front of my hoop. While we have that done, at this time, let's go ahead and look at the machine screen again, and we need to go back to stitch 0 so that we can now stitch that quilting step. So we're going to go ahead, if you don't have the needle plus minus up yet, hit needle plus minus and then tap that 0 so that we go back to the beginning of the machine, and then hit OK in the bottom right hand corner. At this time, we're going to go ahead and stitch what is color stop number 1, which is that background quilting.
Oh, that's
We now need to jump forward to step number 5. So we're going to hit that needle plus minus and arrow down to number 5. So there was 3, 4, and 5. And that's going to give us kind of like a little mini tic-tac-toe board. So once we have that, we can go ahead and stitch. So hit OK in the bottom right hand corner and go back to the machine. We are now going to stitch the eyelets for the ribbon holes. All right, now that the eyelets are all stitched, we need to remove the excess fabric from the outside of our square so that we can do that beautiful satin stitch that's going to go all the way around. So we need to remove the fabric from both the top and the bottom of the hoop. So we're going to go ahead and trim, and then we'll come back and stitch that satin stitch. So I have both behind the hoop and on top of the hoop trimmed. So we're going to go ahead and do that satin stitch. It will go all the way around the square. All right, so the outline has been stitched, and the very last thing that we're going to do is stitch that heart in the middle. We're going to change our thread color to that aqua, which is number 903. So with that stitch, that completes the project. All we need to do now is go ahead and trim around the outside to remove the most of the stabilizer that we can, and then gently put water right on the edge there to remove that little bit of stabilizer that we have there. We have got that water soluble through the entire project, so if you do dip that in water, the entire thing is going to be a little bit stiff. So you would, if you want to get all of that out, you'll need to dip the whole thing and rinse many times to get that nice soft feel. Once we have all of the stabilizer out that you wish to remove, we're going to need to go ahead and remove the fabric from inside the eyelets to go ahead and complete the basket to tie the ribbons through there. And that will complete our What Not basket.